was a good day at work. And to be honest, it's pretty damn easy for Minnesota. I mean, Flyers fans, they know how hard of a season this is, having to give up their captain, the guy who played 1,000 games for them, no matter how somewhat terrible they were. And he's now shipped off to Florida, and they're left with Owen Tippett, who was actually doing pretty good in this game. But it doesn't work against a team that is riding high and flying through the rest of the NHL. So, Wild end up winning this game 4-1 in a pretty dominant performance. We'll get to that one goal, that one little blemish later, but frankly, this was just pure domination by Minnesota. It didn't start out that way, though. The Flyers got a little bit of a jump to start out. They were putting up more shots on goal. At one point in the first period, shots were 7-3 in favor of Philadelphia. So it was kind of like a back and forth, even game, kind of to start things out. And in net, it was Martin Jones versus Marc-Andre Fleury. Gets his second start for the Minnesota Wild. And this game was kind of going back and forth, kind of like a normal lull type of game. Many were thinking it's a trap game for Minnesota, which makes sense. Worst team in the league against a team that is riding high and just beat the best team in the league. But no, the Wild decided, you know what, we're not going to think like that. And Nick Delorier and Nick Seeler decide to drop the gloves. Both of them end up landing some pretty good hits on each other straight through the face. And it looked like Delorier got the worst of it. It looked like, because Seeler came out of it with maybe a few bumps and bruises. Delorier had a bloody nose and just a bunch of blood all over his face. Went back into the locker room just to get patched up and then came right back out. So he's a hockey player, in case you didn't realize it. He's incredible for this team. I love him. Not in that way, but you know what I mean. And frankly, that kind of got the jump back into the game for a little bit. They were talking about how Kaprizov had 19 points in his last 15 games because, of course he does. He's the one superstar that this team has never had before. Never had. So it feels pretty good to have all of that. And so Minnesota also is apparently the first or the only NHL team this season with 3 win streaks of 6 games or more. And I would say, yeah, that's true, but Colorado has 2, and one of them was like 18 games long and ended by the Coyotes. So that kind of narrows that stat down a little bit. It's still good to be in that company, though. And to prove that we were in that company, Matt Dumba gets on the board with his 6th of the season with 5:31 left to go in the first. Assisted by Boldy, who finally got back on the score sheet after it seemed like he kind of disappeared. I won't say for lack of trying, though, because he definitely shows up to each game. He definitely, puts in the effort. It's not like he's, missing these shots and being bad. He's just not getting them in. It's like the Fiala thing earlier in the season. Remember that? Remember fucking Kevin Fiala when he had 2 goals like the first game and then just dipped. Nobody managed to figure out what was going on with him. And so they had to keep waiting for the line mates to kind of get something figured out. And as soon as Boldy came back in, Fiala awoke. I mean, he is a demon to everybody in the league. He is ridiculously good. So, Matt Dumba ends up getting on the board in this one because Gaudreau passes it to Boldy. Boldy fires it, centers it in front of the net. Dumba jumping into the play, tips it right past Martin Jones, 1-0, his 6th of the season. And Minnesota, when scoring first, is now, let me change this stat since we won, they are now 27-7-1 when we score first. The Flyers were actually the worst when getting scored on first. I know Westwall said the stat, and he said it a lot. It said they only had 1 win when they scored first. Like one win, which I seem kind of skeptical of. I might have to check that stat, but this team is somehow above. Yeah, literally. According to the standings, this team right here is above the Devils. And you wouldn't notice it until you actually saw how awful the Flyers are right now. It's a tough season in Philly. It's not good times in Philadelphia. So we end up sweeping the season series from them, which should be expected. First one was a little shaky because that was in the middle of that losing drought that we had. But again, this is just a good team playing a bad team, and it just happens to go the way you expect it to. Then at 3:56, Ivan Provorov gets a holding penalty, and Kirill Kaprizov cashes in on the power play. His 37th of the season. At 3:37 to go in the first, assists go to Spurgeon, his 23rd of the season. Eriksson Ek gets his 17th of the season. Basically, Kaprizov got the puck at the point, went right down into the slot. Well, not the slot, sort of on the half boards, the circle. He went down there, shot it. It was like the Columbus goal. The second goal the Wild had against Columbus, it was literally exactly like that. Eriksson Ek wins the faceoff and just plants like a tree, like a redwood, right in front of Martin Jones, able to screen him and get him in. So Eriksson Ek is basically a tree on the power play, and nobody can seem to move him out, which is good. Because that way he has a lot of time and a lot of places to just branch out and just say, hey, either hit me or hit the net, okay? That's your choice. And luckily he hits the net and it goes in. So 2-0 Minnesota. And with that goal, Kirill Kaprizov was only now 1 point behind Marian Gaborik for the franchise record in points of 83. So he's going to get it. There are still, 20-plus games left? He's getting it. It's a given. He is getting it. He's basically a point-a-game player at this point. So he's rolling for it. And I said at 2:14 left in the first period, I said this could get ugly for Philadelphia. I was somewhat right, but also sometimes wrong. It depends on what you think of it. But at the end of the first, the Wild basically rolled in this period. Yes, Philly got out to some early, shots and attempts and stuff like that. Shots were 16-12 in favor of Minnesota. So it wasn't complete domination, but one team looked better than the other. So we moved to the second period. And 18:25 left in the second. Pretty early in, Jordan Greenway gets his 8th of the season, assisted by Eriksson Ek again, and Marcus Foligno gets the assist. That whole grief line gets in on this goal. Basically, Eriksson Ek fires his puck on net. Puck bounces right back out because Martin Jones couldn't handle this rebound. Right to Jordan Greenway, who is just backhand shovels that thing into the net. And so it's 3-0. Minnesota is still rolling. And after that, they kept getting more shots on. They kept getting more opportunities. It was looking like the massacre that I thought it was going to be. But again, the game just got ugly for Philly, and it just kept seeing that way for the first 2 periods. Minnesota was still rolling. Kaprizov almost had another goal in this one, but it was waved off because Ryan Hartman accidentally tripped Martin Jones going to the net. He was pushed into Martin Jones, so they could have challenged for that. I'm glad they didn't, because I don't think they would have won that. They would have won that challenge. But basically, some defenseman for Philly's pushing Ryan Hartman, and his leg, the leg right there, takes out Martin Jones. It causes him to stumble, fall, puck goes right over his head and into the net. So Kaprizov could have had the record right there, but we'll have to wait, and that's fine, because I'm willing to bet he can get it at home or he can get it on the road. It's fine. And to add insult to injury for Ryan Hartman, literally 10 seconds after that happens, he gets a hooking penalty. But Minnesota is still rolling even when they're not, because 16:55, Kevin Fiala actually gets a shorthanded chance, a good opportunity to possibly score. Luckily, or unluckily, Martin Jones is up for the task, so he manages to stop it there. And at 15 minutes, I wrote, FloWer has something to do, because he hadn't faced anything. The shots were literally, there were 4 shots that whole period for Philadelphia. FloWer didn't have to do anything until 15 minutes. That was the one shot he had faced at that point. And he said at the post-game presser when they say it to all the fans and stuff like that. He was the first star for tonight, and rightfully so. He should have gotten a shutout, but that's just the way it works out. It's unfortunate. But he said, there were moments in the game where I was just kind of bored, and I'm just glad that I'm bored because that means they're doing good. So it works out pretty well. Then at 13:52, Patrick Brown gets a high sticking penalty, and the Wild again are back on the power play. That's also when I realized that it was Pride Night tonight, so good win on Pride Night. Make sure to get that. They also have some pretty cool jerseys that they were auctioning off for Minnesota, and I might have considered possibly going for one. If they weren't so costly for a college student, I probably would have bought one by this point. But it's donating to a good cause anyway. It's donating to a few charities that do help with LGBTQ stuff in the Twin Cities. So if you have the money to possibly buy one of those jerseys, I would consider it. And if for some reason you don't want the jersey and just want to donate, you can probably do that too. They have resources available. But back to the game. 11:54. This was the Patrick Brown high sticking power play. Minnesota never really got anything working on this power play. It was, again, the problem we always kept having. We can't enter the zone right. They stick us up at the blue line and then they just send it back and nothing ends up materializing. So nothing manages to get settled on that power play. But we keep moving along because at 8:15, Rasmus Ristolainen gets a cross-checking penalty and Minnesota's back on the power play. This power play was a much better with a lot more opportunities, a lot more shifting parts, but still nothing managed to go in. And then the last three saves in the second period all happened in a flurry of 6 seconds. And Marc-Andre Fleury is able to save all of them. Basically, close play, 2-on-1 breakaway almost for Philadelphia. They're coming down the left side. Fleury makes the initial save, kind of stumbles a little bit, still manages to keep his balance, still manages to block all those shots, and that was his action for the second period. That's all he faced. Because Minnesota was just rolling through there, just rolling through everybody. Then at 5:10, Nicolas Deslauriers, I noticed, had gotten patched up with, the clear stitches on his face because he was looking bloody in this fight. And it was weird because it was like mutual respect between the two, between Seeler and Deslauriers. So it didn't make that much sense as to why he was getting the worst of it. Because it was a fair fight each way. Both guys got good shots to the face on both of them, but Deslauriers' nose just couldn't take it, I guess. But he was stitched up. He was back out there, so that's good. At 13:27, I wrote, Foligno gets denied by a ghost? Oh, no, never mind. His shot hit the side of the net. Great chance right in front for Greenway. Fires across the net. And he kind of handcuffs Foligno a little bit. Foligno nearly has this, but it's like a little too far for him. And so he just fires it off the side of the net. Puck slowly trickles into the air and then gets batted away into the corner. And I also heard from, I don't know if it was Wes Walls or LaPanta that said this, but at 1:57, they said Minnesota had 65% in the faceoff circle. That is dominance. Absolute dominance. When you win faceoffs and you're good at penalty kills, you will win games. And that is exactly what we did here. And as if that was all that needed to happen, the fourth goal of the game happens for the Minnesota Wild. A delayed penalty goal for Kevin Fiala, his 23rd of the season, which ties a career high for him at 1:11 left in the second. Assists go to Kulikov, his 16th of the season, and Goudreau, his 22nd of the season. Basically, Kulikov enters the zone. Goudreau is sitting right there in the slot. He fires off to Fiala, who is sitting on the goal line. He is sitting parallel to the net. And he just says, screw it, I'm just going to fire it in there. And it goes in. Top shelf. Top corner. Literally, as soon as he got over the... he fell down, trying to get over the corner. He's like, oh my God, I did it! It was the best moment of the night, in my opinion, because he's literally parallel to the goal line. And he just fires it on net. And somehow it gets past Martin Jones. Well, not somehow, because Fiala sniped it. 100% incredible goal. That is why you need to re-sign him. Don't give him this RFA BS again. Just re-sign him. He is worth it. He is worth it. And I know the Wild are going to be cap-strapped, but that is not one player you want to lose to free agency. You sign him. Sign him. Please. Please sign him. And so that would eventually lead to the end of the second period. Minnesota, in this period, dismantled Philadelphia. It wasn't even close. Shots at the end of the second period were 29-16 in favor of Minnesota. Philly had 12 in the first period. They had 4 in this one. That is how lopsided that second period was. But, again, there's always a third period in hockey because there has to be. And so Philly finally says, all right, we're going to screw our heads on straight. We're finally going to put some chances on Fleury. And they start to get him right off the bat. 1938 in, a huge point-blank save by Marc-Andre Fleury. But then, eventually at 17 minutes left in the third period, Tyson Jost high sticks somebody on Philadelphia. I'm not sure who it was, but he got a high-sticking penalty that ends up being a double minor. I think the reason it was a double minor is because, well, the guy for Philadelphia hit the ice with his face down like this. So he definitely got hit. And you see the replay. It definitely hit him. So unfortunate for Tyson Jost, but just got to keep rolling. Just can't let the wheels fall off. And they were also, LaPanta was also talking. He said he talked with the Chicago broadcasters, the home broadcasters, when Fleury was there before the trade happened. This was when Chicago was playing Minnesota before the trade deadline, the closest game before the trade deadline. And the Chicago broadcasters basically said, Fleury has been our MVP on this team, and it is not even close. If he is not in net, then it would be like 7-2 every night. So Fleury was definitely worth it for Chicago. And Chicago fans still treated him with respect. They just wish they could have given him a better situation to be put in front of instead of, Seth Jones and whoever else they have. The Chicago fans don't hate Fleury. Nobody does. Nobody should, frankly. Unless you're, from Vegas and you think wrong and your name's Pete DeBoer, but that's a different story. But anyway, eventually Philly finally breaks through. They get a power play goal from Brad Frost, his third of the season at 15:39. Basically, this is, again, another unlucky bounce for Fleury that manages to happen. Spurgeon tries to clear the puck out of the front of the net because, again, there's 3:43 left in the power play for Philadelphia. He's got to clear it out. He tries to clear it out, and it hits Brad Frost, who is just sitting right in front of the net. He's got a wide open cage. He just smacks it in. It's an easy goal. So just like that, it's 4-1. Shutout's gone, but there's still a lot of game left. So Flyers are going to try and run with this to have some momentum. But at 15:24, the Flyers say, okay, you know what? We're just going to give Jordan Greenway an opportunity shorthanded. But puck bounces over Greenway or something happens. He had broad daylight. Like, literally, he could have done his taxes by the time the Fleury defenders were able to catch up to him. But I don't know if the puck slipped on him or if he just biffed it. Something happened. Puck ends up squirting into the corner. He never actually gets a shot on. So that one didn't work out too well. 13-10, there's good chances both by Tyson Jost, who put on some hustle in this game, probably feeling bad for the power play goal he gave up, and then Kaprizov, who helped him out a little bit, but nothing manages to come of it. And then 11:53 left in the third period. Owen Tippett, the guy the Flyers got for Claude Giroux, wasn't 1 for 1, but it was one of the guys included on the way back for Philly. He ends up basically splitting the Minnesota defensemen. One of them falls down. They have to slash him in order to make sure he doesn't get a shot off. But it was looking pretty dicey at that point because I'm thinking if they score there, oh, Lord, this could be bad. But luckily, not only do they not score there, Marc-Andre Fleury ends up robbing James Van Riemsdyk with a phenomenal glove save. Absolutely steals one from JVR. So it ended up being a John Merrill slashing penalty at 11:46. And then as they come back from the break, Kevin Gorg is doing his summary, game summary. He's walking through all that. As he finishes, Gaudreau gets a step. He's on a breakaway again, and they also biff it. So if there's one thing the Wild need to work on, which I wasn't expecting them to work on, it's breakaways. They need some help, or at least Gaudreau and Greenway need some help on breakaways. I don't think Kaprizov or Fiala would probably not Boldy. He wouldn't need any help on breakaways, but to get that many opportunities shorthanded, that also speaks to a testament of how truly awful Philly is. But hey, if they're awful and we're winning, that's fine. We don't care. So he gets a shorthanded breakaway and nothing comes of it. Another good save by Fleury. I put it 9-23. The Wild need to get rolling again because it was at this point when Philadelphia is starting to gain momentum, starting to come back into the game, and it's looking kind of tough. But luckily, a great deep play by Brodin to save a goal. Oh, wait. That's what I wrote, but then I wrote right after that, never mind, Hayes just biffed it. Oh, yeah, he did biff it. Basically, puck bounces right behind the net. Fleury, unable to get back in time, has wide open cage there to possibly shoot at. Brodin is tied up with Hayes. Hayes has a chance to shoot it, and he biffs. So Brodin and Fleury were having a little bit of chuckle after that. And I basically wrote at 6:30, the Flyers are gaining momentum because of Owen Tippett. He is the reason they are rolling, or at least getting some momentum back in this game. But luckily, nothing managed to come of it. The game slowly kind of fizzled out and kind of went away, except for 1:29 left in the game. Both Marcus Foligno and Owen Tippett collide. It's an incidental contact. Neither of them were looking in the same spot. Both of them end up grimacing. Basically, Foligno gets hit in some in the wrist or something. That's what he was holding. He was pissed off, heading off the ice, slamming his stick down, and just went into the dressing room. Owen Tippett stayed on the bench, but he had his head down. He was not looking good because that's two NHL players coming at each other, not expecting to hit each other. And they hit each other and that happens. So it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. And I hope that there's nothing long-term for Marcus Foligno. I don't think there will be, but let's just hope and pray that will be fine. But at the end of the day, Wild win it 4-1. A dominant performance basically all around. You could put that one goal in there. I'm not really blaming that on anybody. Maybe Jared Spurgeon, but that's kind of incidental contact, so just the way the puck bounces. Wild end up being 7-1 on this homestead, this 9-game homestead. Our last home game of this homestead will be Thursday versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. So this is kind of a warm-up to a team that is, again, good in the Metropolitan. We've played the Rangers. We've played Carolina. We will play Carolina when we hit the road again. I believe on Saturday? I have to check the schedule. But I know for a fact on Thursday, we are hosting the final home game of that homestand against Pittsburgh. It would be really nice to go 8-1. We could have gone 9-0, but for some reason we decided to lose on one of the most important games. It's the way it goes. Shots at the end of this game, Minnesota 37, Philadelphia 33. So that third period definitely helped Philly. But Minnesota still is one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team in all of the NHL right now. They are rolling. We have 4 lines, 3 D pairs, and 2 goalies, and a head coach that are all willing to go nuts until playoff time. And probably, hopefully, into the playoffs. I'd love to see this team get, to the Western Conference Finals. They can have that first-round pick if they want. Because if we're in the Western Conference Finals, I think we could win from there on out. That's just my thought. And of course, Marc-Andre Fleury getting the first star of this game, and more flowers are thrown onto the ice. It's becoming a tradition at this point. Last game in, he had yellow roses. This game, he had some red roses. He had a couple, I want to say tulips were thrown on the ice, but this is starting to become a tradition, and it's a good one. It's a good tradition to have. But anyways, that's all from me. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, please subscribe, comment, because I've seen a couple comments in there. I will respond to those very soon, but it's good. It's good because the Wild are doing good. It's good because the Wild are doing good. I'm glad I can repeat that. But that's all from me. Like I said, like, subscribe. I'm going to keep covering the Wild for the rest of the season because this team is way too much fun not to. And I'll talk to you guys later. So I'll see you.